So hello guys, welcome to the Massman YouTube channel. We will continue with our video series on Stack Overflow question answer. Today I'm here to explain a question which is right on the screen. What is a null pointer exception and how do I fix it? Okay, so this question is asked before 12 years, 7 months ago, and um, this is a pretty much interesting exception, and most frequent exception occurred for every developers, not specific only to Java. This type of exception occurs in almost all programming languages. So yeah, so let's quickly start to look into the brief of this question. What are null pointer exception? java.lang.NullPointerException, and what cause them? What methods or tools can be used to determine the cause of that you stop the exception from causing the program to terminate prematurely? Okay, question is straightforward that what is a null pointer exception, what or which situation caused them, or what mistake in the program cause or lead them, and tools or methods which can determine such exception and terminate the premature or avoid the premature termination of the program. But obviously if any exception occurred and it is not handled properly, then it will crash our program, it will crash our software. Okay, so again, the question is very old, and uh, today's age computers and compilers are much more stronger ideas provided to catch such type of exception and to handle such a type of exception, and they provide inbuilt facility to deal with this such exception. Okay, so let's go into the detail, which is most interesting answer I found here. Okay, the answer is trying to explain first what is how null pointer, how when null pointer or when pointer comes into the picture, and then after he's tried to elaborate what is wrong in the code, and he also provide one sample code by which sample function by which we can easily understand how that null pointer exception can occur and how we can deal with that. So yes, and he also at the end provided some tools and some guidelines for same. Okay, so let's start with the answer. I hope you understand the question, what question I want to ask in depth. Okay, so when you declare a reference variable I an object, you are really creating a pointer to an object. Consider following code where you declare a variable of primitive type integer. Int x is declared, and some value, value of 10 is assigned to the integer. In this example, the x variable x is an int, and the Java will initialize it to the 0 for you. When you assign the value of 10 on the second line, your value of 10 is written into the memory location where location referred by x. Okay, but so what is happening here? Uh, we declare one variable name x and we assign value 10 to it. Okay, fine. So when you assign value of 10 to the second, in the second line, your value of 10 is written into the memory location referred to by x. Okay, your value of 10 is written into the memory location referred to by x. So this is a variable which is having its own address, and on that address value 10 will be get dumped. This is what answerer want to explain. And so here we are not creating an object, here we are simply creating a variable. So this is a primitive type integer, so this is not an reference type. Clear? So what is the reference type then? Okay, so let's see the below example. But when we try to declare a reference type, something different happen. Take a following code. Okay, so integer I is capital, integer is full spelling, and the num. So we declare something with num, name num. So can we say it as a variable, something same like in text? So no, answer is no. Why? Integer, it's not a primitive data type in the case of Java here. Int is a primitive data type, is mapped with the primitive data type of programming language, but integer is a class. So what is different between this int and this integer is this usually a problem or the question in the every programming language in C# or in Java as well. You can refer my video for same where I explain what is difference between the small string and the small string variable with the small letter of est at initiate and the string variable when the capital S is at the initial. The same case is here. Point is integer is a class here. So whenever we declare something variable in front of the integer, it is not a variable, it is what? It is an object. Okay, so while declaring an object, we must have to uh, uh, initiate, or we must have to create some memory location for it. It is just a declaration. We didn't assign the memory to it. So how the memory is assigned to the num, which is my object, is using a new keyword. Correct? So new, I'll assign memory for my num which store a 10 in it. Okay, so uh, first line is declare a variable named num, but it does not actually contain a primitive value 8. Instead, it contains a pointer. A same explanation I just explained. I'm just reading it for you because the type is an integer, which is a reference type. Why reference type? Because integer is a class, right? Since you have not yet said what to point to, means we didn't assign any memory location in it. uh, to assign a memory location, we must have to use a new keyword. So this is what it is saying. For on this line, we are not assigning any memory location. Java set it to the null, which means I'm pointing to nothing. So by default, for variable, Java is assigned it to the null if the type of variable is integer. It is set to the 0, and in case of object it is set to the null, right? So at this line the value of the num is null. Okay, so pointing to nothing. In the second line, the new keyword is used to instantiate or create an object of type integer, and the pointer variable num is assigned to that integer object. The null pointer exception (NPE) occurs when you declare a variable but did not create an object and assign it to the variable before trying to use the content of the variable, called dereferencing. In simple language, I can elaborate that you you're trying to see num is an object, right? So to it must contain the properties which are public in private in if you are if you are accessing it in the same class, but in the case of integer it is always in the different class. So public and public properties or protected properties will be assigned, will be accessed through this num object. So if this is not assigned or this is not pointing to the particular class, then how it will assign, if it is itself a null, how it will derefer or how it will it access the public or protected member data members of that particular integer class, which includes a 10 value if when we execute the second line in this piece of code. Okay, so the content of the variable called dereferencing. So accessing the content of the object is nothing but dereferencing, and creating an object is what a term of referencing. Pointing to the memory location, a pointer comes into the picture to point something. It is a referencing, and to access it with the help of pointer location and from the object of it with the dot or with the arrow arrow symbols, I can say it's called a dereferencing. So dereferencing usually happens when using a dot to access the method of field, or using a square bracket in case of array. So it's depend on the structure, it depends on the language, and in case of CPP, you can access a pointer element of any particular object using the arrow symbol. In case of C sharp, in case of Java, it is dot there. In case of array, for both the language or all the language, it's an open square bracket which include in text, and again the closing square bracket. If you attempt to dereference a num before creating an object to get null pointer exception, exactly, if you are not assigning any memory location, you're not assigning any value, then obviously it will throw a null pointer exception. So this is what the exception. Here is one method shared by the answerer. Do something which is accepting one object as a parameter, and in the function code it is accessing my method of the object using a dot. So here we are using a dereferencing, but think this code is very naive, as it is not, it is considering that the object passed to this function is always filled, and it is not or never null. But what if this is null? In this case, a null pointer exception occurs and it throws an exception. To avoid such issues or such null pointers exception, very very basic or very concrete step is to check if the my object is null or not, or make sure you're not passing a null pointer, and if you're passing, then try to catch it. So here is a piece of code which is saying that check first for the if object is null. If not, then do whatever the required stuff. Hope you are clearing pointers, reference, dereferencing, and the main question, which is why null pointer exception occurs. So there are some tools which is shown are explained by the program answerer. I'll post the links, or you can simply go to this question on the Stack Overflow and check out those links. For me, you in the latest compiler or latest IDE development environment, you no need to use any external tool to cache the exception. There are stack traces over there, and there are beautiful debug functionality available in modern type of compiler or IDEs, and yes, you can use that, and that is much more enough to catch such type of errors. And in Java 14, following sample null pointer exception. So what is difference between the Java 14 and before is that when if my object is null, okay, sorry, I clicked on that. If my object is null, then it will simply it will simply throw an error message that okay, I opened that link actually. So before Java 14, if the error occurs, it will only point that the main thread is having a null pointer exception and the line number of add and process is existed. But after Java 14, it will show a null pointer exception cannot invoke this function which is here, as because the list is null. So this is what the modification, it is specifying addressing a particular error message which is the error with the list, as it is list is null, so you can't access the size which is contained in the list. So this is the difference. So in after 14, Java 14, there is a depth of specific error message shown, and this is what the answer mentioned. I hope you enjoyed this video and you learn something new in this video. If you like my content, like my video, please do like, subscribe and share these videos. Let me know your suggestion in comment section. If you are still having any question, feel free to ask me in comment section. Thank you. Goodbye. So hello all, welcome to the Massman YouTube channel. We are continuing with the Stackoverflow question answers video series. We are currently taking C# questions on the C# language. So what is the difference between a string and the string in C#? The first string is capital yes, and the second string is with the small letter yes. So the question asked tells here before and still developer confused between the string and strings. Okay, so what he give example string yes, hello world string yes. What are the guidelines for the use of each? What are the differences? So I would like to highlight that this is not the correct. It should be that system.string while you actually writing the code. Okay, fine. So best answer. So there are several best answer on this question, but what in short I would like to explain that string is an alias in C# for system.string. So what is alias? Alias means a nickname or identify with some another or simple name. Right, system.string will be easily replaced with the string. So technically there is no difference, like it's like int versus system.int32. So as far as guidelines, it is generally recommended to use string anytime you are referring to the object. So string place is equal to what? So what is place? Place is variable here of type string, and you are saying what? Likewise, I think it generally recommend to use string with capital S if you need to refer especially to the class string grid string dot format and some values. So capital string is generally for the class and the small string is for the type string or objects. So this is simple difference between no difference as we can see technically. Actually, string is an abstraction of the system.string and the C sharp. So what my point of view is that if a .NET framework modifies something in the system.string with the capital A's, then it should be impacted only at this level. Allies will be the same. So my preferable choice is to use allies instead of the actual .NET framework provided structure, which is system.string with capital S. Okay, I'm clear. I'll also like to show string is not only in the .NET framework with this type of situation. Objects is also system.o capital objects. A bool is also system.boolean with a capital B, and so on and so forth. So yes, strings for system and .NET framework type. String is analyzed in C# language for the compiled to the system.string in intermediate language, so there is no difference. Choose what you like and use that. If you code in C# I prefer string, as in let C# type is always well known in the CH programmers. Sharp programmers, okay, fine. So there is no difference, and one is specifically for class and one is for tutor variable. That's it. Thanks for watching video. If you have any question, let me know in comment section. And have a good day. Bye bye.